Let's talk about nonverbal communication. Remember I said your body speaks all the time? Researchers have identified 600,000 nonverbal signals. Now, we don't have time for all of those. But I want to share with you 5 that will make a huge difference in how you come across when you're on your feet speaking as a leader. And I use the word speak to help you remember the 5. And the S in speak stands for smile. I had to practice smiling when I decided to become a professional speaker. I was 48 before I took the advice I gave my kids. And the advice was, figure out what you love to do, most of all in the world, and then find a way to get somebody to pay you to do that. And you're going to be happy the rest of your life. And both my kids have done that. So I was 48 when I decided, and I thought, well, you know, I like to teach, and I have this big ham bone in my body. I like to perform and entertain. So I thought, well, I'll become a professional speaker and trainer. Seemed like a perfect job for me. And then I realized well, you probably wouldn't believe this, but I am extremely shy. I have learned to behave as though I'm not shy. And few people would actually believe that I'm shy. But I knew that as a professional speaker, I had to be more enthusiastic, and I had to learn to smile more. So I started practicing those 2 things. And in my morning walk down the country roads where I live, I would be walking along, smiling, practicing, laughing out loud. And cars would come by and they would wave. I thought, well, that's really odd. So eventually I got to the point where I could smile and be enthusiastic a lot easier than it had been. And I quit smiling on my walks, and people quit waving at me. Isn't that interesting? And eventually I felt I was doing good enough at smiling and enthusiasm that I could create a video for meeting planners who would consider hiring me. And I told my 2 kids and my wife what I was doing, my plans, and when I got it all done, finally I sat them down and I said, I want you to look at this video. Tell me what you think. And it was 10 minutes long, and they liked it, and then my daughter pulled me off to the side. She said, Dad, you know, that wasn't you on the tape. Well, Kendra, I don't understand. What do you mean it wasn't me on the tape? Well, Dad, you were smiling. You were enthusiastic. I got to do that at home, too? So you can learn to smile more, and I encourage you to really work on that one. That's a big one. The P is posture. You tell people how confident you are in your message as a leader by how you walk, how you sit, how you stand. For instance, I'm very excited to be with you today to talk about this new idea that I have for our organization. When the body language and the words do not match, we believe the body language. Or this. I am so excited to be with you today. I've got this great idea I want to share with you that I think could make a big difference in our organization. Posture and enthusiasm. What a difference, eh? And the smile, yes. The E is eye contact. In our culture, eye contact is so important, it's part of the language. If we say, he has shifty eyes, we can't trust that person. Or if we say, she looks you right in the eye as she speaks to you, we know that we can trust her. Now, this is not true in all cultures. In fact, most of the rest of the world, you do not look a person in the eye to show respect for them. That's Asian, African, Hispanic, and Middle Eastern cultures. You do not give a lot of eye contact. So if you have an audience of those people, or you've got somebody from that one of those cultures in your organization, you would want to give them less eye contact. I was training a group of Middle Eastern engineers one time a train-the-trainer program so they could train people when they got back home on these kinds of topics. And when I said, what does it mean when you look a person right in the eye? And they said, well, that means you're trying to shove the information in. And, of course, that would be very different from the message you would want to get across. So it's very important to begin to look at for and understand the cultural differences, because we have people, the world's getting smaller and smaller. We have people coming into our organizations, our communities, from all over the world. The A is animation or enthusiasm. A very common problem is that we often are not very passionate or enthusiastic about our topic. Bob felt that he was enthusiastic when he spoke. And at times he was more enthusiastic than at other times. But overall, it tended to be a monotone. When I work with people using a video camera to help them to see and hear themselves and the amount of enthusiasm that they have, I will often say, I want you to double or triple the enthusiasm and just give us 2 sentences. And they'll do that, and I'll say, now I'd like you to double it again. And we'll do that maybe 3, 4, 5 times, because there'll be a tiny improvement each time. And I'll say, you've got to exaggerate. And then I'll say, I want you to go so far out there that you look like one of those really stupid used car salesmen who are jumping up and down with fists of money in their hand on TV. I want you to feel really stupid as you show this incredible enthusiasm. And they'll be uncomfortable doing this, but they'll do it. And then I'll ask, how did that feel? Oh, man, it felt terrible. I just can't imagine anybody wanting to respond to me when I'm behaving like that. Then we play the tape, and I'll say, how did that look? How did that sound? That was pretty good, wasn't it? So my point is to be more enthusiastic and more passionate, to show that enthusiasm and passion, you've got to exaggerate, go way beyond where you think you need to be, and get some people to help you. Videotape yourself, audio tape yourself, so that you can see or hear how that's coming across. You can't get anybody excited about your organization unless you are excited yourself. In the bibliography, the resources at the back of the workbook, there's some books that I recommend to you, and one of them is, don't go there now, but one of them is You Are the Message. It's how you behave that's the message, not necessarily the words you use always. But so you've got to be passionate about what you're talking about as a leader to get other people passionate. You can't get someone excited about your new idea for growth and change in your organization unless you're passionate and excited about that yourself. And you may have to exaggerate, learn to push yourself a little harder to do that. The E is kinetics, and here we're talking about motion, particularly hand motion. We didn't see a lot of gestures from Bob because he was holding these things. They kind of weighted him down. And that's why I recommend you not have things in your hand when you're speaking. A one-handed gesture is a good, strong gesture to support the words you're using. A two-handed, symmetrical gesture is much stronger. And what's happening now is I'm framing my face. This is where I want you to look, because I know that my face is supporting my message too, doing things I'm not even aware of. And if I'm gesturing down here, I'm encouraging you to look somewhere else. So up here about shoulder height. And I talked about the hands. Boy, the hands are little giveaways. They're also little tattletales. They will tell people when you're nervous. You ever seen people who have these nervous gestures with their hands, and you sort of feel like, boy, if I could get inside their brain, they're probably thinking, boy, if these were wings, I could get out of here. And the person who plays with their ring, you notice I don't wear them because I'm one of those people. This person's probably thinking, boy, if this were a magic ring, I could make myself disappear. Yeah. And the prayer position, oh, please, God, get me through this. And the fig leaf. And then you have the person who speaks from the fig leaf position, and they give these little ineffectual gestures. This is what we call the fig leaf flasher. So watch your hands. Get them up here at shoulder height. And when you're not using your gestures, just let go of your hands. And guess what? They'll just fall down, and they'll stay right there until you need them again. When you need them, they're right there. You just bring them back up again. And what we tend to do, though, is we tend to do something with our hands. Put them in our pocket. Bob put his hand in his pocket one time. You put them in behind you, or put them in the fig leaf, or hold them together. So when you're not gesturing, just let go. And they're going to just hang there until you need them with no problem. Yes? A question about speaking at a podium. I'm glad you asked that. I'm going to go get one and show you why you should never, ever do it.
Let's speak from a podium.
We tend to be very formal in many organizations, and we'll have a head table, and this is actually a lectern. A podium is a riser on which you stand, but it's okay to call it a podium. Most people do, even professional speakers I've noticed do that. But I'm really interested in words, so that's why I point that out to you. So notice the difference when I'm standing back here. I feel very comfortable back here. I have a barrier between you and me. This is protection. Helps me when I'm scared as a speaker. Never, never stand back here. If you stand back here, you will die. And actually, your presentation will suffer. And your presentation may die. So listen, just because there's one of these here doesn't mean you have to stand behind it. You will hardly ever see me stand behind one of those, even when I've been paid thousands of dollars to speak at a group. But notice the difference speaking back here. Notice the feeling as I come around here. Notice the difference. I'm warmer. I'm more personable. I'm more accessible. Back here, I'm cold. I'm inaccessible. There's a barrier. There's a physical barrier between us, and you can feel it.